Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore, and I can't tell you how great it feels to be back live with you guys. I have missed you. Hope you missed me. It's been a rough couple of weeks that I haven't been able to be on. Of course, you know, we had the Thanksgiving weekend, and then I sort of got sick over that weekend, and it carried over into the next weekend. But I am back and new and improved. I feel so much better, and it's just the best to be back and to be able to speak with you again and just say thank you for bearing with me. Because I had to get over this illness. I had laryngitis really, really bad, and just the overall crud. I don't know what I had. It wasn't the flu. It wasn't COVID. I had the rapid COVID test, and I administered 2 of those, and they both came back negative. So I was thankful for that. That I've managed to dodge COVID this entire time. Not bragging, just thankful that I didn't have that, and that I didn't have the flu. And, you know, I'm fully vaccinated, and I also had my flu vaccine back in, I think it was either late September or early October, but I was covered for whatever the strand was for this year. But anyway, the main thing is that I'm back, and I feel great, and I'm ready for today's show, and I hope you are too. All right, so let's get straight to it. All right, so the title of today's show is Arc the Herald, and the topic is defining story arcs. Now, if you're wondering why today's title has a Christmas theme, or it sounds like a lesson in conductive energy, it is a little both, because it is the most wonderful time for sharing gifts of all kinds, and including the electrical power of storytelling. It sounds electrifying, but not to get too technical, a story arc is the same as a story narrative, okay? So that's layman terms. So those who don't write books or not well versed in the technical lingo of novel writing, that's basically what it is. It's a narrative, okay? All right, so in some ways, story arcs can have scientific elements or scientific properties like unequally dispersed energy, and we all know what havoc that causes, okay? So to avoid any disparity, a definitive path should start at each story's beginning, middle, and end. Nothing is more confusing than a story that starts out promising until it's not. I just have to say this, and no disrespect to the author, and I'm not giving out names or titles of what I started reading, and I'm going to finish reading because I'm vested in it. I've read the book for about a couple of hours, so I'm vested in it. But even before I got to that point, I sort of figured out the plot, and it's not bad. That's not a bad thing to figure out a story plot before you finish it. But sometimes you want to shake it up a bit and make the story less predictable. Unless it's a story that you've read, many times before, or it's something like it many times before, and you can pretty much guess what's going to happen. And, not that I've read a whole lot of books like this. This was my first time reading this author, but you know, I had it figured out, and I don't like that, and so that's the whole importance of having strong story arcs, or strong narratives, strong characters, and a strong plot line. All right. So, but anyway, it's what we follow as authors, story arcs, in this case, is so we can be able to tell the character story in phases. All right, in simple terms, a well choreographed chronological plot construction. That was a lot of words, wasn't it? All right, so a lot of C words at that. My pastor, God rest his soul, would always say when preaching a sermon or teaching Bible study, he would always tell us to remember the first defined principle, because he says generally how it starts, that's how it's going to end. And so, and he's right about that. How something or someone starts is usually how it ends. If it starts out good, it usually ends good. If it starts out bad, it usually ends bad. Okay, so it's valid on all accounts. And if you were to, I know you hear my creaky chair. I tried to fix it before we started, but it's not working. So just excuse me, please. Excuse the noise in the background. All right. So, but anyway, if you were to visualize a story arc, they sort of resemble a roller coaster. In how they start, when you get on a roller coaster, you get in it, and it's generally everybody has to get on the roller coaster at the same point. So that means, when one person gets on, then that seat goes up, and then the next seat comes, that person gets on, a person gets on, and then they go up, and then so on and so on and so on. Okay, so a story arc it sort of is like a roller coaster. In how they start inclining until they reach a definitive peak. And then, once all those seats are filled, once everyone has, went around the loop, however many times a roller coaster goes around the loop, I don't ride them. I have a fear of heights, and, and roller coasters, they fit that bill, at every level. I can't do it. All right. So anyway, once that ride is over with, it levels off. Okay. So that means it's coming to the end. And that's generally how story arcs or narratives with stories. That's how they start. You get that rush. You get that feeling of something great is about to happen, and then you get that rush midway, and then of course you start to level off at the end, and that's the end of that ride. So that's how you want stories to sort of line those up as well, because you want the readers to enjoy it, and you most definitely want to take them on a ride, but you also want them to to be able to enjoy it while they are on that ride. So so all is good at the end. All right. So the intrigue and sense of anticipation begin with the situation, the opposition, and finally a climax. Now that's the story structure of a story arc, okay, or the narrative. That's how it starts. You get the intrigue with that sense of anticipation. That's at the beginning, and then of course you run into all kinds of situations, midpoint through the book. With the opposition, because there is always some type of opposition, always sometimes a drama, just to define it, with a more final point, and then when you get to the end, of course, there is always a climax. There's always some type of resolution. So, pretty much that's basically, what a story narrative or story arc is. It sounds complicated, and it can be, but basically that's what it is. All right. So, the initial starting point introduces the characters and the story theme, because this is the process. All right. And so the midpoint is the critical part of the plot. I said that. And then, the readers are usually already emotionally invested in the story at that point. So, once you get them, sometimes you get them in that first paragraph. And generally, that's when you want to capture their full attention. You want to have them unable to wait to what comes next. So by the time they get to the midway point of that book, they're already saying, oh my God, I hope this book is not about to end. And if it is, I hope that there's another one. Because, they generally don't want the story to end when it's just that good. And that's what we want to deliver every single time. Okay. We want to always leave them wanting more, but we want them to enjoy what we did give them at the beginning and to leave with a good feeling to know that, wow, that was a rush. I enjoyed it and I can't wait to do it again. All right. So that's what we want. That's the general impression of what we want to leave on every reader. And finally, like I said, we reached the end and hopefully all issues will be resolved if it's not a sequel. So we know that's going in a totally different direction. When you have multiple books, but sometimes, you may have the same storyline if it's a sequel, if it's like a part 2 or whatever. But generally with sequels, sometimes you have multiple storylines, and that's not a bad thing. Because sometimes you want to experience, a different adventure with those same characters. And so, it's sort of like you're getting to experience their lives, and it's not just limited to that one story, but we get to see different facets of their lives throughout that series of books. Okay. So, the goal for writers is to create a powerful story dynamic that will strengthen as it moves along, and strong story arcs. They form bestsellers. We already know that. So the better the story arc, the stronger the story arc, the more chances of it becoming a bestseller. All right. So just keep that in mind. And I'm talking to writers and authors. Okay. So as I pointed out earlier, story arcs are definitive, but in some cases, they can become more than one. And so that's something to look forward to. As I said before about the book series and things like that. All right. So just to sum all of this up, the final destination is to write better stories and to create engaging plots and win readers who will love your books and share them. All right. So that's all I have for you today. And I hope I came back strong, and I hope you miss me. And I hope that you will like and share this story. And I have to shout out all of those listeners who download my show on a weekly basis, and those who are outside of the United States who I seem to be very popular with. And so I thank you, for your support, because that's so important when doing podcasts, to help other people, find and download, and discover what I'm doing. I'm trying to do some good. I'm trying to spread some good cheer and some worthy advice. So, I think it's a good thing, and I think that people do appreciate that. So, if the people that are outside of the United States, and not to say that the people in the United States are not downloading, because they are too, and generally it's more in the United States than outside of the United States, but I had to shout out those countries who are supporting me. That I know this show is international, but sometimes you have to look at the breakdown of who and where the show is being filtered to, and who those countries or those individuals are in those nations that are listening to the show and downloading it. So I thank you so very much for that. All right, so before I let you go, I want to make sure that I share these URLs with you, because that's equally important to know how to listen to the show if you don't listen to the live podcast, and if you do listen to it. But if you don't, you can just go to https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian Moore. That's how you can find me, how you can find the show. If you want to follow me across social media, I invite you to do so, and that's every platform: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Okay, although I'm not on TikTok a whole lot, but still I'm out there if you want to go out there. And also you can check out my website, that is at authorvivianmoore.com or authorehepper.com. And also My blog is uploaded and edited. Well, not edited, but just updated each and every week. And that is at https://viviannemore.blogspot.com. All right. So those are all the places where you can find me and find the show. And if you listen to podcasts on a regular, including this one, it is available anywhere you can find podcasts. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find Book Chat, okay? But I want to give you a few sites, a few freebies to save you from having to, to just, to work too hard mentally of trying to find the show. So, of course, I'm going to help you out a little bit. And, of course, the first one is Spreaker. And then Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, YouTube, SoundCloud, JioSaven, iTunes, Audible.com, Verbal, Luminary, and Amazon. Okay, so those are just a few of the places where you can listen to the show. You can listen to the podcast. And then you can just go to Spreaker if you just want to do it that way and listen to each and every episode. You can do it on, all the podcasts that I just listed for you, but you can most definitely do it on the Spreaker podcast, the Spreaker app as well if you don't have it. All right, so tomorrow is Worship Day, and being out sick means I miss a couple of Sundays, and I don't like being absent from church, but when you're sick, you can't help it. It's unavoidable, and sometimes it's better not to, when you're unsure of what you have, if it's viral or otherwise, you don't want it to spread and give it to other people. So it's best to stay at home. If you feel sick or are sick, just stay at home until you're better. And so that's what I did. But anyway, tomorrow's Worship Day, and I hope everyone is planning to go out and worship tomorrow. In your own way, if you go to the physical building, or if you listen to it, across the internet, or if you watch it on television, just be sure to tune in and, tune in to God, tune out the world. All right. So that's my advice for today. But anyway, invite others to listen because it's important, especially times like this. And of course, it's the season. It's the Christmas season, the holiday season. Whether you celebrate Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever your holiday title is, however you celebrate, I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. And for those of us who started shopping back in November, which I'm one of those people, I've learned to try to stay ahead of the game because, especially with everything being the way it is as far as the mail situation, and I kid you not, my postman, these last about a month or so, probably maybe right at the end of Thanksgiving or maybe a little bit before, sometimes my postman doesn't put mail in my mailbox until 9 and 10 o'clock at night. And, and I've never heard of such, but I guess, again, with the situation being what it is, as far as, hiring folks to actually to deliver the mail, qualified people to deliver the mail, this is the situation that we're in. So, they're making the most of it, and so we have to make the most of it too. But if you haven't started doing your shopping, especially if you order online, and that's how I do it, I order online, you need to get on it, stay on it, until... until it tells you, until whatever site you're shopping on says, that you won't be able to get it before December the 24th. So I hope that you are well into your shopping, if not finished with it. Okay. And also, like I said, this is the, it's the holiday season, when we think about our loved ones the most and gift giving and things of that nature. Maybe you're one of those people, because I know I am, that I really don't give gifts, throughout the year for birthdays and things like that. But I sort of make up for it at Christmas time. So I sort of go all out at Christmas time, giving gifts. That's the one time of year that I do give. But, and I have a huge family. So if you can imagine, trying to keep up with every single birthday and anniversary and things of that nature. So sometimes it's just best to give that one time a year. And so I give from the heart, and so I make up for it at Christmas time. But what I do on a daily basis, and not just at the holidays, is let people know in my life how I feel about them, because tomorrow is not promised, and you may not get the chance to tell someone how you feel about them. So make sure that you do that, and that is why in each and every single show with this message, to always tell those how you feel about them, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say that. So on that note, I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you, and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.